It's 3:17 in the morning, and I'm sitting in my truck in a hospital parking lot with an engine that's been dead for 3 nights now. Clara's been inside for 72 hours. My wife. The only person in those 147 contacts who actually knows me, and she's hooked up to machines I don't understand, and I'm out here because visiting hours ended 6 hours ago when I've got nowhere else to go. And there it is. David Cross, standing on a stage with a plaque in his hands, that same smile he used to flash in board meetings right before he'd say something that made you feel about 2 inches tall. The caption says something about innovation and leadership and a bright future. Behind him, the company logo. My old company. The one that handed me a severance package 14 months ago and told me I was too emotionally fragile for the direction they were heading. David's words, not HR's. David looked me in the eye and said, "Marcus, you're just too weak for this." Then he shook my hand like he was doing me a favor. I can feel it rising, that old, familiar burn in my chest. The kind that makes you want to throw your phone through the windshield. The kind that makes you want to scream at God, if he's even listening, which I'm pretty sure he's not. 14 months. 14 months of watching my savings drain out of my bank account like water through a cracked bucket. 14 months of Clara saying, "We'll get through this," while I watched the light in her eyes get a little dimmer every time another job application came back with, "We've decided to pursue other candidates." And then she got sick. And then the test started. And now I'm sitting in a parking lot at 3:19 in the morning while the man who destroyed my career gets a plaque and a standing ovation. I shove the phone into the glove compartment because if I look at it one more second I'm going to do something stupid. And that's when my fingers hit something. A book. Small, worn, pages so thin you could almost see through them. I pull it out and I already know what it is before the parking lot lights hit the cover. Clara's Bible. She left it in here 2 years ago, after one of those Sunday mornings when I told her I'd come to church with her and then backed out at the last minute. "You can keep it in the truck," she said, and she smiled when she said it, but I saw the disappointment she was trying to hide. "Maybe one day you'll get curious." I never opened it. Not once. The pages are still stuck together in places, the gold edges faded, the leather cover cracked at the spine from sitting in a hot truck through 2 summers and 2 winters. I don't know why I open it now. Maybe because I've got nothing left. Maybe because the coffee's cold and the heater's off and my wife is in a hospital bed and I can't pray because I don't know how. Maybe because when you hit the bottom, you stop caring about what makes sense. I flip it open to a random page, and my eyes land on words that stop me cold. "O Lord, God of my salvation, I cry out to you by day and by night. Let my prayer come before you, incline your ear to my cry. For my soul is full of troubles, and my life draws near to the grave." I read it again. Then again. This isn't the Bible I remember from childhood, the one with the neat verses about love and peace and being kind to your neighbor. This is something else entirely. This is a man screaming into the darkness. This is a man who's lost everything, who's counting himself among the dead, who's telling God exactly how bad it is without dressing it up in fancy religious language. My soul is full of troubles. Not "I'm struggling a little bit." Not "I could use some prayer." Full of troubles. Drowning in them. And he's not apologizing for it. I keep reading. "You have put me in the depths of the pit, in the regions dark and deep. Your wrath lies heavy upon me, and you overwhelm me with all your waves." This guy, whoever he was, he's not holding back. He's blaming God. He's saying, "You did this. You put me here. Your waves are crashing over my head and I can't breathe." And somehow, this is in the Bible. This made it into the book that people read in church on Sunday mornings while wearing their nice clothes and pretending everything's fine. My hands are shaking a little, and it's not from the cold. For 38 years, I've been told that faith is about having the right answers. About being strong. About trusting God and not asking questions and definitely not getting angry. David's voice echoes in my head, "Too weak, "Marcus, you're just too weak," and for 14 months I believed him. I believed that my anger and my exhaustion and my doubt meant I was failing. That real Christians don't sit in hospital parking lots at 3:20 in the morning with cold coffee and 147 contacts and no one to call. But this Psalm 88, according to the tiny number at the top of the page, this isn't a man who has it all figured out. This is a man who's been crushed, who's alone, who's counting the hours in the darkness, and he's still talking. Still crying out. Still turning towards something he can't see and might not even feel. He's not pretending. He's not performing. He's just screaming. And somehow, that screaming is holy. I close the book and stare at the windshield. The fog from my breath is spread into a thin layer across the glass, blurring the parking lot lights into soft, hazy circles. My phone is still in the glove compartment. David is still on that stage. Clara is still in that hospital bed. Nothing has changed. And yet something has shifted, just a crack, just a hair, because for the first time in 38 years, I'm looking at a man in Scripture who sounds exactly like me. And if he can scream at God like that and still have his words preserved for thousands of years, then maybe, just maybe, I don't have to have it all figured out to start. I don't know how to pray. I've never known how to pray. But tonight, sitting in the cold with a Bible I never opened and a wife I can't help and a future I can't see, I've got nothing left to lose. And maybe that's exactly where prayer begins. Not with polished words or perfect faith or a life that's all put together. Maybe faith doesn't start with an answer at all. Maybe it starts with a cry in the night, the kind you make when you've run out of everything except your voice. And if that's true, then even a man like me might have a place to begin. There are prayers you never speak out loud, but God hears them anyway. Let me take you back 11 years. Before the hospital parking lot. Before the cold coffee and the 147 contacts and the machines I don't understand. Back when Clara and I were just two kids on a cracked apartment balcony with nothing but each other and a future we couldn't see. I was 27. I'd been carrying the ring in my jacket pocket for 3 weeks, waiting for the right moment, which is the kind of thing you do when you're terrified and hopeful in equal measure. She said yes. Of course she said yes. But here's what I didn't know would stay with me for 11 years. After the crying and the laughing and the kissing, Clara got quiet. She held my face in both hands, her fingers were cold from the evening air, and she said, "Marcus, my faith is part of me. It's not just something I do on Sundays. It's who I am. I'm not going to push you or pressure you or make you feel like you're not enough. But I want you to know, I'm always going to pray for you." I remember exactly what I said back. I believe in things I can touch. And then I touched her hand. Like that proved something. Clara just smiled. Not the kind of smile that's trying to win an argument. The kind that's patient. The kind that says, "I love you enough to wait." That's the thing about prayers you don't hear. You don't know they're happening. You're going about your life, working, eating, sleeping, making decisions, and somewhere, someone is lifting you up before God without you ever knowing. Clara never made a big show of it. She never left her Bible open on the kitchen table with verses highlighted in yellow, hoping I'd notice. She never said, "I told you so" when things went wrong and I had nowhere else to turn. She just prayed. Quietly. Faithfully. For 11 years. And I had no idea. Mirror moment, some of you are doing that right now. Praying for someone who doesn't know it. A husband who rolls his eyes when you mention church. A daughter who stopped answering your calls. A friend who's too angry to believe in anything. You're wondering if those prayers even matter, if they're just words dissolving into silence. You've never seen a single sign that anything is changing. And you're tempted to stop. Don't stop. You have no idea what God is doing in the spaces you can't see. Now let me bring you back to the present. The hospital. Day 4. The ICU waiting room has become its own kind of world. You start to recognize the other families, the woman with the red scarf who cries silently in the corner, the elderly man who paces the same loop of hallway every hour, the young couple who hold hands and stare at the floor. We're all strangers, but we're also not. We're all waiting. We're all helpless. We're all hoping for news that might not come. But Esther, Clara's mother, is sitting next to me. She's 74 years old. Her hands are folded in her lap, the skin thin and wrinkled like old paper, and she's staring at something I can't see. Maybe a memory. Maybe a prayer. Maybe just exhaustion. She's 74 years old. Her hands are folded in her lap, the skin thin and wrinkled like old paper, and she's staring at something I can't see. Maybe a memory. Maybe a prayer. Maybe just exhaustion. I open my mouth twice on Tuesday and both times the words crumble before they reach my lips. Once I reach for the coffee cup she hasn't touched and pull my hand back like the ceramic was hot. She notices. I catch her eyes flick toward my fidgeting fingers before returning to that middle distance where her daughter lies behind glass. On Wednesday I count the ceiling tiles 3 times and get a different number each time. Thursday I almost say she's a fighter, but the phrase curdles in my throat before I can release it, because what if that means I'm already bracing for the fight to end? So we sit. 2 people who love the same woman, wrapped in fluorescent silence, the ventilator's rhythmic hiss filling every space our words should occupy. But today, the 5th day, she speaks first. Her voice is soft, the kind of soft that comes from decades of learning that grief spoken too loudly frightens people away. Marcus, do you know how long I've been a widow? I know. 15 years this October. But I don't say that. I just meet her eyes and wait, because I understand now she isn't asking for information. She's telling me she knows how to lose someone. And she's terrified of learning it all over again. In years. Clara's father died of a stroke when Clara was 23. But I let her tell me anyway. 15 years, she says. Every morning I wake up and ask God why he left me here. Why take my husband and leave me? What am I supposed to do with all these years alone? She pauses, and her eyes, Clara has her mother's eyes, dark and deep and impossibly kind, shift toward me. I don't have an answer. Not one. But I have something else. What? I ask. Peace. She says it simply, like she's naming the weather. Peace that doesn't come from answers. Peace that doesn't come from understanding. Peace that just sits with you in the waiting. I've stopped asking why, Marcus. I've started asking who. Who is with me? And he always is. Memorable truth, peace doesn't come from having answers, it comes from knowing his presence. She lets that settle between us. The waiting room hums with the sound of a vending machine and distant footsteps and someone's phone buzzing on vibrate. And I feel something crack open in my chest. Not a dramatic shattering. Just a hairline fracture. Just enough for something to get in. I look down at my own hands. They're calloused. Construction hands. Hands that have built things, fixed things, held things together. But right now they're empty. And for the first time in 38 years, I say it out loud. I don't know how to pray. The words hang there, ugly and honest. I expect by Esther to look shocked, or sad, or maybe disappointed, the mother-in-law whose daughter married a man with no faith. But she doesn't. She just nods slowly, like I've said something she's been waiting to hear for 11 years. Shuakong kan loi hoa mai, she says. God doesn't need fancy words. He needs the truth. Tell him what you're most afraid of. Start there. I swallow. My throat is dry. I'm afraid she's going to die. I'm afraid I've wasted 11 years not believing in anything. I'm afraid that even now, I'm just doing this because I'm desperate, not because I actually have faith. Good, Esther says. That's a good place to start. And that's when the memory hits me again. Not the balcony. Not the proposal. Something uglier. 14 months ago. The day I lost my job. I was a project manager at a mid-sized construction firm. I'd been there 9 years. I'd pulled all-nighters for deadlines, worked weekends for free, trained the new hires who eventually became my supervisors. I thought loyalty meant something. I thought hard work was its own protection. David, my former boss, called me into his office on a Tuesday afternoon. The blinds were drawn. That should have been my first clue. He had a stack of papers on his desk, perfectly aligned, and he slid them toward me without making eye contact. Sorry, Marcus. Board decision. Nothing personal. Nothing personal. 9 years of my life, reduced to a severance package and a signature line. I don't hate him for firing me. Not really. I hate him for the way he did it. The blinds drawn. The papers perfectly aligned. The refusal to look at me. Like I was already gone before I'd even left the room. Like 9 years of my life were a line item on a spreadsheet he'd already balanced. I sat in my truck that day too. Same parking lot, different building. Engine running. Hands gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles went white. I didn't cry. I've never been good at crying. But I sat there for 45 minutes replaying every conversation, every handshake, every "we're family here" lie, and I let the bitterness settle into my bones like concrete curing. That's the thing about hatred. It doesn't stay where you put it. It spreads. It colors everything. Every time Clara asked how work was going, I snapped at her. Every time my phone buzzed with a job rejection, I blamed David. Every time I looked at our bank account shrinking, I imagined him in his corner office, blinds still drawn, not thinking about me at all. And the worst part? He probably wasn't. He probably never did. I was the one holding on to a man who'd already let go of me. I was the one drinking poison and expecting him to die. But Esther's voice cuts through the memory. Marcus. I look up. She's still sitting across from me in the waiting room, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes, Clara's eyes, fixed on me with a patience I don't deserve. You're thinking about the man who fired you. It's not a question. I don't know how she knows, but I've stopped being surprised by what this woman sees. I hate him, I say. The words come out raw, scraping against something in my throat. I know I'm not supposed to. I know it's wrong. But I hate him. And I can't stop. But Esther nods slowly. Hatred is a heavy thing to carry into a hospital waiting room. You're already carrying fear. You're already carrying exhaustion. Do you have room for hatred too? I don't answer. Because the truth is, I don't. I'm running on empty. 3 nights in a truck with a dead engine. 72 hours of washing machines keep my wife alive. I have nothing left. Not strength, not hope, not even the energy to keep pretending I'm okay. I need air, I say, and I push through the sliding doors into the parking lot before she can respond. The truck is cold. It's always cold at this hour. 4:47 in the morning, and the world outside the windshield is that strange gray color that isn't quite night and isn't quite dawn. Like the sky can't decide whether to give up or try again. I don't know why I reach for it. The little Bible. The one Esther left on my dashboard 3 nights ago. I haven't opened it. Haven't even touched it. But now my hand finds it in the dark, and I hold it in my lap like it weighs 50 pounds. I think about what Esther said. Tell him what you're most afraid of. Start there. I don't know how to pray. I've told her that already. But sitting here in the dark, with nothing left and nowhere else to go, I realize maybe that's the point. Maybe prayer isn't something you learn. Maybe it's something you do when you've run out of every other option. I close my eyes. My hands are shaking. God. My voice sounds strange in the empty cab. Small. Embarrassed. Like I'm talking to someone who isn't there. God, I don't know if you're real. I don't know if any of this is real. But if you are. I stop. Swallow. The words feel stuck, like they've been waiting years to come out and now they don't know how. If you're real, my wife is dying. Clara. She's in there, and machines are keeping her alive, and I can't do anything. I've tried everything. Money, doctors, working harder, staying up later, praying to a God I'm not even sure exists. Nothing works. Nothing I do makes any difference. My voice cracks. I don't try to stop it. So if you're God, if you're really God, do what I can't do. Please. I'm asking you. I'm begging you. Save her. Not because I deserve it. I know I don't. But because she does. She's good. She's always been good. And I. The tears come then. Hot and sudden and completely beyond my control. They fall onto the thin pages of the Bible in my lap, and I don't wipe them away. And David, I whisper. I hate him. I know it's wrong. I know you're not supposed to hate people. But I hate him for what he did to me. For what he took from us. And I can't. I can't carry it anymore. This hatred. It's killing me. It's been killing me for 14 months, and I can't do it for one more day. I grip the Bible tighter. My knuckles are white again, but this time it's different. This time I'm not holding on to anger. I'm holding on to something I don't understand yet. I don't know how to forgive him. I don't even want to. But I want to. Does that make sense? I want to be free of this. So if you can do that, if you can take this hatred and do something with it, please. Please. I stop talking. The cab is silent. Outside, the sky is still gray, still undecided, still caught between darkness and light. And then something shifts. I can't explain it. There's no voice, no light, no dramatic moment. But suddenly, and I know how crazy this sounds, suddenly I'm not alone. It's like someone is sitting in the passenger seat. I can't see anyone. The seat is empty. But I feel it. A presence. Something steady. Something that doesn't need me to be strong or certain or even faithful. I sit there for a long time. The tears dry on my face. My breathing slows. And outside the windshield, the first pale edge of dawn begins to break across the hospital parking lot. At 5:47, my phone rings. I almost don't answer. My hands are still shaking. My eyes are still swollen. But something makes me pick it up. Mr. Marcus? It's a nurse. The night nurse from the ICU. I've memorized all their voices by now. Yes? Your wife is awake. She's asking for you. The phone is still in my hand when I move. I don't even remember setting it down. The squeak of my shoes on the polished floor, the blur of fluorescent lights streaking overhead like pale ribbons, a nurse in blue scrubs stepping back against the wall to let me pass without a word. The elevator button cold under my thumb. The muted ding. The doors sliding open, then closed. I taste salt and realize I've been biting my lip. Then the double doors to her room, and the world narrows to a single point, Clara's face. Pale, exhausted, but her eyes are open. Her dark eyes. Her mother's eyes. My legs fold. I'm on my knees beside the bed, and the sound that comes out of me isn't quiet anymore. It's the kind of weeping that's been buried for months, since the layoff, since the diagnosis, since I learned how powerless a man can feel holding the hand of someone he loves and having nothing else to offer. Clara's fingers find mine. Weak, but they're .ine. Her grip is weak, but it's there. Marcus, she whispers. Her voice is barely a breath. I had a dream.